So the Climate Emergency Action Plan is based on the idea that we are facing a really serious issue with climate change. This summer should be a wake-up call, if nothing else has been, with fires all through the West and the East Coast having record-breaking temperatures and drought throughout the Midwest. So it's been quite a summer, and this should signal to us, and experts are saying this really is related to climate change. It is not just a random series of events. So what do we do about that? It's not at the top of the list in terms of the election, and that's unfortunate. Nonetheless, I think we should be calling on our leaders to be paying attention to this. Obama has what he calls an all-of-the-above energy strategy. So he's in favor of developing new dirty energy, oil and coal resources. And in fact, his administration in the last year has approved the southern part of the KXL pipeline through Texas. We just ran a story about the odd coalition of Tea Partiers and property rights advocates and environmentalists who are trying to stop that project from going through. And he's also approved the exploitation of the Powder River coal, which will be running on trains through the Northwest, millions of tons of this, to export to China. So while the United States is switching over to cleaner natural gas for a lot of electricity, all of this coal is being leased to coal companies at very favorable prices to them for export to China, where it will still have the same climate impact. So some of Obama's policies are really problematic. Some of them are good. He's doing things like upping vehicle emission standards so that we're getting more fuel-efficient vehicles, or will in the future. And he's also been fast-tracking some really good renewable energy projects, solar and wind. So it's really a mixed bag. But I think one of the things that we need to realize is that now is the time that we need the kind of leadership in Washington, D.C. to really take on this climate issue with the kind of a mobilization that we did during World War II, to really shift our entire society to take on what may be our biggest threat that humanity has ever faced. So what does it actually look like if we take on the climate in a real way that's really up to the scale of the crisis that we're facing? Well, I think one thing that it takes is we really need to rethink how we're doing agriculture and food. Right now, food is a major contributor to climate change because of the way that we use chemicals on our fields and long-distance transportation. These chemicals, many of them are serious climate change producers in and of themselves. And then the whole way we produce meat in this country leads to a huge climate problem. So that's number one. The second thing we need to do is to stop subsidizing dirty fuel. Right now, the oil and gas and coal companies are enjoying huge subsidies from the federal government. We should not be subsidizing and giving low rates to these companies. In fact, on the contrary, we need to be putting a price on carbon so that the market will give the right signals and the right kinds of energy that will actually clean up our atmosphere and take on this climate crisis will be the ones that will be deployed. We need to look at how we're doing towns and cities. Right now, many people have to commute long distances in vehicles that are polluting their environment and, of course, adding to climate change. We don't need to live that way. People love compact, pedestrian-friendly communities. Many of them go to those kinds of places on vacation because they're so charming. And, of course, Europeans live that way, and it's not a bad way to live. So we really need to look at how our towns and cities are structured and how we deal with the waste products that come out of those cities, how we can start using more closed loops kinds of systems. And we need to reinvent energy. We need to switch to renewables. We need to build mass transit. Those are all things that we know how to do. These are off-the-shelf kinds of technologies that we know how to do, and now is the time to do it. And finally, we need to block some of the really awful, dirty energy sources. Things like the Powder River coal. That coal will have to be transported through the Pacific Northwest on mammoth coal trains that will be spewing all sorts of coal dust and diesel into the environment so that it can be exported to China, where it will be burned and contribute to climate change. So I think we need to be willing to take direct action to stop some of those really dangerous new kinds of infrastructure that put into place a commitment to dirty energy over the long term.